My next guest, Adam Levin. He's the founder of CyberScout, and he's here to talk about something quite important these days, cyber scams. Hi, Adam. Good to see you again.
Hi, Julia. Nice to see you. Thanks for
Yeah, see,
inviting me.
we're working from home. You are working from home. I'm working from home. Every other person I know is trying to work from home. And we rely so much on Zoom and Skype and everything. And then we have heard many scary stories, like people Zoom bombing us. What are some things that we can do to essentially protect ourselves? Like, because privacy is a real concern.
Well, I think the important thing is to practice what I call the three M's. How do you minimize your risk of exposure, reduce your attackable surface? How do you monitor effectively so you know you have an issue? And what's your plan to manage the damage?
Well, can you elaborate on the first one? Say, like, I have so many things to worry about already, right? I'm
Yeah.
worried about getting my work done. I'm home. I'm not being super productive already. And then now I have to worry about this thing that may or may not happen. Isn't that just more work?
Well, it is and it isn't, because unfortunately, right now, with everyone focused on COVID-19 and all the scams coming at you based on COVID-19, and they come in what I call the pantheon of phishings, which is phishing, where you get a generic email or communication, which is dear taxpayer, dear citizen, dear cardholder. You have spear phishing, dear Julia. You have phishing, which is where someone calls you on the phone, tries to convince you that they are either with the Internal Revenue Service or the health department or with a bank questioning a charge, or you'll get a text, which is known as smishing, SMS text-based phishing, where they'll say, your account's been frozen, click here. And people don't even think about, does my account really, what account is it? They just click. And it takes them to a website that looks official and asks for their login credentials, and then they get into trouble. So these are the things that you have to be looking out for right now.
Aren't these all regular problems that we would deal with during normal times anyway? Why are we more susceptible to these kind of, scams or fraud during a pandemic when we're mostly working from home?
Well, I think that's because hackers rely on two things. They rely on distraction and vulnerability. And we are entirely distracted right now, but yet we are entirely focused on anything that has anything to do with either stimulus checks, unemployment compensation, meeting notices, or homeschool related notices, any of those things, or new job opportunities, new investment opportunities, with a lot of people being laid off. So we are focused, but we are distracted. And that's our day job, is doing all that. For a hacker, never forget, we are their day job.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Then I have to ask you this. Say if we get a check, we get something, either, through our bank or in the mail, it is our responsibility to make sure, okay, we safe keep everything. However, I don't know, if we use somebody else's service or we take a class online, isn't it the responsibility of the service provider or the school we enroll in to keep us safe? Why should we worry about that in that case?
Well, the reality is this. Government has done a miserable job of protecting us. Businesses, in many cases, has not done a very good job either. Either they don't have the resources, or they have the resources and they don't care, or they don't know how to deal with the problem. So we now are faced with what I call a shared responsibility. And that is that we also have the responsibility to protect ourselves, because think about this, our identity and our finances, this is all about our economic security. So yeah, we
Well,
can
any
rely on other.
security. This is about security in general, not just, one kind of security.
No, this is all kinds of security. And, everybody talks about, let's build a wall. Well, you know what? There's a thing called a cyber dome, which is actually more important, because we are at risk every minute of every day. And that's why we really have to focus ourselves on what we can do to protect ourselves. So everything from using long and strong passwords, not passwords we share across our universe of websites, enable two-factor authentication, which means we not only have to enter a password, but we also have to enter a code that may be sent to us. When we come up with security questions and answers, because we post so much information online that anyone who follows us can know a lot about what we answer the questions like lie like a superhero. Clark Kent would never tell you he's Superman. Don't use your mother's real maiden name. Don't tell them what real high school you went to. Don't give them any clue that they could find on social media. Secure your devices. Don't download every app you see because it sounds like it's cool. Or here's the new COVID-19 tracking device. Let me click here. If it isn't Johns Hopkins and you haven't proven it's the Johns Hopkins University one, be really careful. If you get news and you banner ad shows up going, new development on COVID-19, don't just click on the banner ad. Go to a trusted news source, freeze your credit, and just be very careful about any link that anyone sends you or any attachment that they send you, because if you click on the wrong link or open the wrong attachment, you could put malware on your computer, which turns your computer into a transmitter. So every time you log in, it's transmitted to the hacker, or if there's ransomware on your computer, you're going to have to pay to basically get your files unfrozen, decrypted, and get them back.
Yeah. Last thing, there was I don't know how much of a misconception it is in this day and age, but there is this common belief that a Mac computer is safer than a PC. What do you think?
It actually, a Mac is safer, but there are ways that hackers have found to get in. So you need to go to the Apple site or go onto your computer, and there are a list of things that you can do to make your computer more secure. But what's really important here is the fact that whatever software you're using, as long as it's legitimate software, if you get a legitimate update notice, not something that comes in an email or not somebody that calls you on the phone and goes, we have a new update from Apple and I'm calling you to make sure you do it, is make sure that you update your software, your firmware, and make sure you back up the data on your computer. In particular, make sure that whatever you do to back it up, whether it's an encrypted thumb drive or you have a cloud backup, make sure that it's not connected 24/7 to the internet, because if your backup is on all the time and ransomware gets into your system, the problem is that it's going to go straight to the backup.
All good points. Adam Levin, always great to talk to you.
Thanks for inviting me.